What if your own blood betrayed you, taking crown and title while you rotted in exile, daydreaming of revenge? Opening on a desert dawn outside Kano's city walls, we meet the exiled hero, mind sharp, spine stiff with purpose. The palace was draped in mourning silks, deep indigo banners hanging limp in the heavy air. Courtiers whispered in corners. Outside, thunder grumbled like a warning from the ancestors. Prince Musa stood alone before the old throne, his head bowed. His father, Sarki Bakery, lay still on the ceremonial mat, eyes closed, breath fading like the scent of incense. Musa knelt beside him, gripping the old man's hand. "You must rule with wisdom, my son," Bakery whispered. "A king's strength is in his justice, not his sword." Before Musa could answer, the heavy bronze doors of the throne room slammed open. The noise echoed like a war drum. "Seize him," came the voice of Idris, Musa's elder half-brother. Dressed in a crimson robe, he entered flanked by 4 palace guards. Musa rose, confused. "Idris? What is this?" "By order of the High Council," Idris declared, lifting a parchment, "you are hereby exiled for treason against the state." Gasps echoed. Musa stepped forward. "Treason? What madness is this? Father's not even." "Silence him," Idris snapped. Guards grabbed Musa by both arms. He fought, shouting, "This is a lie. He's not even crowned yet. This isn't our father's wish." But Bakery, too weak, could only lift a trembling hand as if reaching for his son. The guards dragged Musa backward. As the doors closed behind him, Musa locked eyes with Idris. The new king smiled. "Long live the crown," Idris murmured, placing the royal ring on his own finger. The guards rode far, leaving Musa in the middle of nowhere. They tossed a flask near his feet. "If the sand doesn't eat you, the vultures will." One guard laughed, then turned back toward the city. Musa stood alone. The desert stretched endlessly. No road, no shade, only the shimmer of heat. He stumbled forward, thirst rising like smoke in his throat. By night, the stars glared coldly down. Musa found a thorny acacia and slept curled beneath it. He dreamed of the throne room, of Idris's grin, of his father's dying eyes. By day 3, his sandals split. He bartered them to a nomadic family for dried dates. They offered no shelter, only pity. As he walked again under the weight of exile, Musa knelt at the crest of a dune and wrote his brother's name in the sand. Idris. He spat on it. "You stole the crown," he whispered. "But you will choke on it." Musa collapsed near a grain stall, dust coating his face. The crowd stepped around him like he was trash. A woman crouched beside him. "Easy now," she murmured, lifting his head. She gave him water from a clay gourd. Musa's cracked lips trembled. "Why, help me?" She smiled faintly. "Because I remember you. I watched you ride horses along the Jakara River. My father was a palace gardener." He blinked at her. Her face was older, harder, but her eyes were kind. "Amina," she said, "I have thorns now, but not for you." That night, she hid him in her compound. Her clay walls bore charms against evil. She washed his wounds and gave him millet porridge. "They say you're dead," she said quietly. "But I knew you'd return. I just didn't expect you so broken." He looked up. "I'm not broken. Just gathering the pieces." Amina handed Musa a folded cloth. Inside was a letter with no ink. "The ink is lemon juice. Hold it to the flame." Musa unfolded the paper and tilted it toward the lamp. Slowly, faint letters appeared. "Idris has dissolved the council. Those who object vanish. He tortures the guards for information. He fears your return." His hand tightened. "He fears me still?" Amina touched his arm. "Then you have power yet." Musa looked into the fire. "I won't run again. If he fears me, let him fear completely." He held the letter too long. It caught flame, curling into ash. He didn't flinch. Amina led Musa into the arena district. Fighters wrestled, blades clanged. One man stood undefeated, the masked lion. They watched his final fight. The man moved with precision, disarming his opponent in seconds. Afterward, Musa slipped behind the tent and called out, "My Yangits. Is that you?" The fighter turned, lifted his mask. The scar above his brow confirmed it. "I thought you were dead," Yangits said. "I was forgotten. Now I rise." Yangits looked long into Musa's eyes. "You want revenge? Or justice? Does it matter if it ends with Idris on his knees?" Yangits grinned. "Then I fight for you again." Musa stood before the ancient well. Morning mist curled around the stones. He drew a bucket of water and stared at his reflection. His face was older now. Harder. In the ripples, Idris's sneer shimmered. An old man stood nearby, his cloak smelling of herbs. "Revenge turns water to blood," he said. Musa didn't turn. "Then I'll drink it gladly." He dropped his prince's necklace into the well. The splash echoed long. Amina moved ahead in a shawl. Musa kept his hood low. They approached a cloth cellar. She leaned forward and whispered, "The tunnels under the palace are still real." Next, they met a beggar near the blacksmith's. He slipped Musa a worn map. Yangits bargained with a former guard turned butcher. "Musa Levs," he whispered. The man dropped his knife in shock. Hope was slow but spreading. Musa knelt at a grave marked only with a carved gourd, Zawara. His mother. He remembered her singing. Her hand on his forehead when he had fever. Her sudden illness. Her death. He whispered, "I know now. He poisoned you. He feared your bloodline." Wind rustled through dry leaves. "I won't forgive him. And I won't let him rest easy." Yangits carved the message into the side of a talking drum. "The lion lives. Rise with him." That night, drummers in 3 corners of Kano echoed the code. In farms and compounds, old warriors stirred. In the palace, Idris heard the drums and froze. "He's alive," he muttered. Rain pounded the earth. Musa stood soaked, surrounded by 11 men and women. Each came forward, placed a hand on his shoulder. For justice. For the truth. For Kano. Lightning split the sky. In the distance, the palace lights flickered. Musa whispered, "I'm coming home." In the palace, Idris stood by the window, golden armor gleaming. Let him come. The rebellion gathered by firelight beneath a narrow crescent moon. Musa unfolded the map retrieved from the beggar. A labyrinth of tunnels beneath the palace walls, once used by kings to escape war. Now it would be their way in. Yangits paced as Amina sharpened a dagger on stone. "If Idris controls the palace guards," she said, "we need more than warriors. We need ghosts." Musa looked up, his face half-shadowed. "Then let's become the shadows that stalk his throne." A messenger arrived on foot, breathless. "The Zaria merchant has pledged weapons. But there's a price. He wants Idris dead in 2 weeks. Or the deal dies." Musa's jaw tensed. "Then in 2 weeks, Kano will have a new king, or none at all." From the hills, a spy watches the firelight flicker, then turns back toward the city. Amina and Musa arrive at the house of Dadi Malam, a silk merchant loyal to the old king. The compound is quiet, guarded by 2 women in black veils, armed with daggers. Inside, Dadi's room is lined with tapestries hiding weapons. "You want to take back Kano?" he asks. "Then you need the women who whisper through the walls." He gestures toward the veiled warriors. "The sisterhood of the Black Veil. They once served your mother, Zawara. And they remember." Amina steps forward. "Then let them speak with me." One of the women lowers her veil. A scar runs down her cheek. "We will serve the son of Zawara, but betray us and your blood will soak this floor." Musa bows. "I ask only for loyalty. And revenge." A coded message is brought to Dadi. Idris is hosting a feast in 2 nights. A perfect place to strike. But it's also a trap. The palace was lit like a firefly trap. Lanterns glowed in every corridor. Music from chorus strings danced through the air, and the scent of roasted ram and sweet rice wafted from golden trays. Nobles from across the northern territories laughed under the canopy of stars, unaware they were dining in a trap. Idris sat at the head of the long banquet table, wrapped in gold-stitched robes. Beside him, his new allies, foreign merchants and generals bought with silver and fear. He raised his goblet. "To unity," he said, his voice silken. "To silence of the past." Behind the tapestries above, Amina moved silently with two of the Black Veil assassins. They had infiltrated the palace as servant girls. Below, in the courtyard, Musa had shaved his beard and wore a servant's tunic, carrying jugs of wine among the guests. Yangit stood at the edge of the wall, hidden in shadows, watching for the signal, a dropped goblet from the balcony above. Suddenly, Idris stood. "Before we dine," he declared, "I have a gift for the people of Kano." Two guards dragged a prisoner into the center, an old man, bloodied and bruised. "A spy," Idris said. "Caught sending messages to rebels." Musa froze. It was one of his own messengers. Idris raised a blade. "This is what treason looks like." Just before the blade fell, a goblet tumbled from the upper balcony and shattered on the stones below. Time slowed. The goblet hit the stones like a thunderclap. Idris paused mid-swing. His eyes lifted toward the balcony. Then chaos erupted. From above, Amina and the two assassins leapt like shadows, blades drawn. One landed cleanly on a guard, the other vanished into the crowd. Screams split the air as nobles stumbled backward, overturning tables. Musa dropped his wine jug, kicked a stool into a guard's legs, and ripped a dagger from his belt. Yangits descended the wall like a hawk. In the din, he moved with lethal focus, disabling two of Idris' guards before they could draw swords. Idris backpedaled, calling, "Protect the king!" But the courtyard was no longer his. Amina's blade flashed, slicing a rope that released the lantern canopy. Fire rained onto the tables, igniting silks. Smoke billowed into the air. Panic grew. Musa grabbed the bleeding messenger, pulled him toward the gate. "Stay with me. You'll live to see Idris fall." "Prince Musa," the man gasped. You thought wrong," Musa snapped, shoving open a servant gate. Idris stood behind a wall of scorched silk, breathing hard, eyes red. He turned to his advisor. "I want him dead by sunrise. No more games." Musa sat beside the wounded messenger, now resting under thick blankets soaked in herbs. Outside, smoke from the palace still rose like a crooked finger into the morning sky. Amina paced the small room. "We were too loud. Too soon. We needed a spark," Musa replied. "Now the city knows I live." Yangits leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "And Idris knows we're close. He'll burn half of Kano to bury you again." Their fears were confirmed an hour later. A scout from Tuduan Nufua arrived breathless. They raided Dadi Malam's compound. "The old man is dead. The women in black," he swallowed. "Only two escaped." Musa closed his eyes. "He moves faster than we thought." Amina drew her scarf tightly. "He's striking fear. We must strike memory." "What do you mean?" Musa asked. "Your mother's name still carries weight. We remind Kano of her, and they'll remember you." Outside, hidden in the alley, a cloaked figure watched the safe house door. A silver ring glinted on his finger, the symbol of Idris's personal guard. Word had spread like dry grass fire. "The lion returns. And he calls us to remember Zawara." A crowd gathered in the ruins of the old amphitheater, a place once used for poetry and royal declarations. Elders who had not left their compounds in years now sat on broken stone benches. Young hawkers stood on rooftops. Children dangled their legs from the ledges. Amina stepped forward first, her voice echoing. Zawara was not just queen, she was the mother of Kano's wisdom. And she was killed in silence. Her son now breaks that silence. Musa emerged slowly from the shadows. His robes were simple, his voice hoarse but steady. "My mother died so quietly many of you forgot. My brother now rules with the same silence, only this time it comes with fire and chains. He held up a silk cloth embroidered with Zawara's crest, the crescent and kola nut. Who remembers this symbol? Hands rose. Then remember this too. The same blood that once built this city, now bleeds to take it back. From beneath the stage, a spy scribbled notes into a scroll, then vanished into the dusk. Idris stood before a map of Kano, red strings stretching between key districts. He stabbed a dagger into the amphitheater ruins. He speaks her name again, Idris muttered. Zawara, always her shadow. His advisor, Kano, stepped forward. You should have killed him as a child. I tried. She protected him even in death. Idris paced. He draws crowds now. Merchants whisper his name. The people grow teeth. Kano nodded. Then we pull them out. All of them. Idris turned to a dark-robed figure seated in the corner. Awalu, it's time. The man stood, face covered in veils, eyes hollow. Shall I strike at the root? No, Idris whispered, smiling coldly. Strike the soil. Burn the markets. Poison the wells. Let them fear hope itself. As Idris gives the order, Musa and his allies ride toward Dambata, unaware they're walking into a trap crafted by ghosts and fire. Musa and his growing band of rebels rode under the harsh sun, banners bearing the crescent and kola nut snapping behind them. Children ran barefoot alongside the road, cheering. Farmers stopped to wave. It felt like momentum, until they reached the town's edge. Smoke. Yangitz was the first to spot it, a thick black column curling from the grain stores near the central square. They spurred forward. Amina shouted, "Weapons ready!" But the streets were empty. Market stalls overturned, animals loose. The silence was wrong. Then it began. A hidden arrow struck one of their scouts in the throat. From rooftops, masked archers loosed a hail of death. Fire erupted in a ring around them, oil-soaked hay ignited by hidden torches. Panic scattered the horses. Children screamed. Musa dismounted, shielded two civilians with his cloak. "Get to the well," he barked. Amina swung her blade against a veiled attacker. One of Idris's black tongues, assassins trained to kill silently. Yangitz dragged the wounded behind a cart. "It's a trap," he yelled. "We've been herded." From the flames, Awalu stepped into view, robes untouched by soot, eyes like stone. "I bring greetings from your brother," he said. Awalu raised a black flask, uncorked it, and tossed it into the well. The water hissed and turned a deep crimson. The night carried a bitter silence, broken only by coughing and the quiet sobs of survivors. The rebels had escaped the burning town through an old goat trail, but they had left behind bodies, blood, and hope. Musa sat on a fallen log, hands wrapped around a cracked waterskin. Amina stood beside him, arms folded, face stained with soot and guilt. Yangitz limped into view, his shoulder freshly bandaged. "We lost 16, including 3 children who followed us from Jakara." Musa stared at the fire. "I swore this wouldn't happen." "You didn't set the flames," Amina said. "Idris did. But I led them there," Musa replied, voice low. "Their blood is on my oath." From the shadows, one of the younger rebels stepped forward, a boy named Tijani. He had helped carry the wounded all day. "We still believe, my prince. Even after fire. Even after death." Musa looked up at him. The boy's face was streaked with ash, but his eyes burned with fierce loyalty. "I can't afford to doubt again," Musa whispered, "because Idris won't wait. Next time, he won't send fire. He'll come himself." Far off in the forest, a horn sounded, low, long, and close. Too close. The black tongues were not finished. The rebels had marched through the night, led by Yangitz through bush paths and dry ravines. Behind them, the black tongues hunted like jackals, relentless and silent. Each hour brought news of another scout lost. At the banks of the river Hadijia, they found old boats hidden among reeds. part of a forgotten smuggling route once used by Zawara's allies. Amina's hands were blistered from guiding the wounded. Musa's robe was torn, but his back was straight. "We cross here," he said. Yangitz narrowed his eyes. "The boats can't carry all. Some must stay behind, and delay them." The group fell silent. Tijani, the boy who had spoken with courage after Dambata, stepped forward. "I'll stay." "No," Musa said sharply. But Amina nodded, then turned to 3 other fighters. "I will stay with them. We buy you time. You find the next fire." Musa gripped her forearm. "You were never meant to die in the dark. And you were never meant to kneel in the light," she replied. "Now go." As the boats pushed off, Musa looked back through the fog. He saw silhouettes drawing blades in the rising light, and then the forest swallowed them. The sun pierced the morning fog as the river faded behind them. Musa stood atop a termite mound overlooking the plains. Below him, the tattered remnants of the rebellion unpacked what was left: bandages, broken swords, and hunger. Tijani's scarf now rested around Musa's arm. He wore it like a badge of survival and guilt. Yangitz approached with 3 new scouts. "The villagers here remember your mother. One elder called you Dodo Mayabo, the lion who honors. They'll help rebuild." Musa nodded slowly. "Then we rise again. But not with just blades. We need Kano's heart." Amina's absence stung the air, even in silence. Every fighter felt it. By midday, women arrived with food. Blacksmiths began to fix the broken blades. A poet composed a chant. "Zawara's son has crossed the river. And he brings thunder." A child handed Musa a folded parchment. Inside, an invitation sealed with Idris's personal crest. A duel, 1-on-1, at the ruined throne hall of their father. The tent flapped in the wind like a warning. Musa stared at the letter by candlelight, the seal broken, the words burned into his mind. "Return alone. Face me like a prince. No armies. No poison. Only blood." Yangitz threw a cup across the tent. "It's a trap. You walk in and you don't walk out." "He's trying to cut off the lion's head," said a young fighter. "If you fall, we fall." But Musa remained calm. "Or, if I stand, the people see Idris for what he is, afraid." An elder rebel stepped forward, his beard streaked with ash. "A duel settles nothing unless it ends a story. Will your death end this, or make you a martyr?" Silence hung like thick fog. "I won't die," Musa said at last. "Not yet. But if he wants a duel, I'll bring him a reckoning." Outside the tent, a hooded figure approached the camp. She limped with a hidden blade and eyes of storm. Amina had survived. The first rays of sun touched Amina's face as she stepped into the camp. Dirty, bruised, and limping, but very much alive. Gasps spread like ripples across the rebels. Some fell to their knees. Others whispered, "She's returned from the fire." Musa rushed forward, eyes wide. "Amina!" She collapsed into his arms, coughing. "I promised to be your shadow. Even fire can't chase that." Yangitz looked stunned. "We thought you died buying us time." "I did die," she whispered, wincing. "But death blinked, and I crawled from its eye." Later, by the fire, she recounted the ambush. The black tongues torched the forest. "But I found a tunnel under the shrine ruins. A coward's passage, but it saved me." Musa gripped her hand. "You're not a shadow. You're the storm." She nodded. "Then let's thunder. I have a plan, but it means letting Idris believe you'll come alone." Musa's gaze sharpened. "You want me to walk into the duel, but not alone in spirit?" Amina smiled, eyes fierce. "Let's end this like ghosts who've come home." The forge was nothing more than a dug-out clay pit, hidden under woven mats. Smoke curled faintly through a cracked vent in the earth. Inside, an old metalsmith named Bappa Danlamy hammered steel in silence, his face illuminated by red coals. Amina placed her hand on the map. "If Idris expects a clean duel, we must fight with layered hands. He thinks the crowd will watch and see a prince die. Let's make them watch him fall. Bappa Danlami unwrapped a cloth. Inside, 2 curved blades made from meteor-forged iron. Your mother once commissioned me in secret, he said. She knew even peace must have a sharp tongue. Musa picked up the blade. Then let this tongue speak the truth. Outside, children wove cords with the crescent kola nut symbol. Women sang old lullabies reworked with new lyrics. Zawara's blood returns to reign through fire, ash, and storm again. Yangats passed Musa a folded sash. For your waist. Hidden sheath. One move. One chance. Musa nodded. We strike once. But it must echo through history. That night, Idris sat in his throne chamber, watching a torch burn low. Send word, he told his captain. The duel begins in 3 nights. But have archers on the roofs, and poison in the prince's wine. Twilight fell like a shroud over the remains of the ancient throne hall. Ivy and dust draped what was once regal. The twin lion statues stood chipped and forgotten. Cracked pillars reached toward a sky bruised with stormlight. Musa entered alone. His robe was deep indigo, lined with white, the colors of Zawara's legacy. On his hip, hidden beneath the folds, the blade Bappa Danlami had forged for him. Each step echoed in the hollowed-out chamber, where once kings had ruled. Idris waited near the throne, dressed in red armor that glinted like fire. A small crowd stood around the rim, silent, tense. Palace guards lined the walls. Bowmen hid atop the ledges, ready. Brother, Idris said, smiling thinly. You look like her. And you look like a shadow in her light, Musa replied. A hush fell. Idris removed his sword, tossed it at Musa's feet. A duel. No tricks. No guards. We settle this like princes, like sons of bakery. Musa picked up the blade. Then let this hall judge us both. The 2 circled, eyes locked. Thunder rolled overhead. The first clang of steel rang out, sharp and final, like a drum of fate. In the crowd, Amina, disguised as a palace widow, signaled to the rooftops. The hidden rebels began to move. Steel screamed as the brothers clashed. Musa moved with patience, footwork sharp and careful. Idris struck like a storm, every blow laced with fury, guilt, and something deeper, fear. You think a sword makes you worthy? Idris snarled, locking blades. The people follow you because they don't know your weakness. Musa slid back, deflected a strike. No, they follow because they remember truth. And you fear memory more than blades. Idris lunged. Musa dodged, and the older brother's blade sliced a stone pillar. The crowd murmured. High above, the bowmen raised arrows. Amina whispered to the rebel hidden beside her. Wait for the signal. Suddenly, Idris kicked Musa back. You want the truth, he shouted. She was going to make you king. Even as a child. She poisoned our father's heart against me. That's why I ended her. Gasps. Silence. Even the guards faltered. Musa's eyes widened. You killed her. She planned your future in blood. I planned hers in silence. Lightning flashed. Musa rose, expression cold. Then this is not a duel. It's judgment. Amina dropped her ring into the dirt, a silent signal. On the rooftops, rebels notched their arrows. The rain came suddenly, pounding the broken throne hall like war drums. Thunder rolled again as Musa and Idris circled each other, soaked and bleeding. I was always stronger, Idris spat, blood on his teeth. No, Musa said, eyes sharp. You were always louder. But never just. They clashed again, metal cracking against metal, breath ragged. Amina watched from behind the column, whispering the old war song Zawara once sang in the royal nursery. When the lion roars, the jackals scatter. When the cub stands, the earth remembers. Suddenly, Idris fainted left, but Musa saw it. He pivoted and drove his blade forward, a clean strike to Idris's side. The elder brother gasped, fell to one knee. Above, a bowman raised his arrow, about to release. Amina's rebels struck from the shadows, pulling bowmen from ledges, slitting ropes, toppling scaffolds. The roof trembled. Musa stood over Idris. "This is your last breath. Make it count." Idris laughed bitterly. "You think they'll forgive you for killing a king?" "I'm not killing a king," Musa whispered. "I'm burying a traitor." Idris reached into his robe and pulled a vial, the same poison he used on their mother, and raised it to his lips. The hall had gone still. Rain softened to a drizzle. The crowd leaned forward as Idris, clutching the poison vial, raised it shakily to his lips. Musa lunged forward, but not to stop him. He let Idris drink. The elder brother's body seized. He dropped to the floor, eyes wide, froth at his mouth. The same way Zawara had died. Gasps rippled through the watchers. Some wept. Others fell to their knees. Musa stood in silence, his robe soaked, his blade still dripping rain and blood. He chose his end, like he chose hers. Amina stepped beside him. "It's done." "No," Musa said quietly. "Now it begins." He turned to the people. "I do not claim the throne by blood. I claim it by burden. If you would have me, I will rebuild what he broke. Not as a king, but as your servant." A voice rose from the crowd, an old woman in mourning cloth. Zawara walks through him. Another joined. Then another. Until the chant rose. "Zawara's son. Zawara's son. Zawara's son." Deep within the old palace catacombs, a figure in black stirred. One final piece of Idris's legacy, still alive. Torchlight flickered in the deep silence. The catacombs smelled of wet clay and secrets. A man wrapped in dark woolen robes moved through the corridor with the ease of someone who knew every twist of the ancient maze. His name was Malam Zaki, Idris's last shadow, the one who trained the Black Tongues, the keeper of the hidden scrolls. He watched the duel from a carved slit in the wall. Now, with Idris dead, the weight of old plans shifted onto his shoulders. He reached a stone door and pressed his palm to it. It opened with a low groan. Inside lay shelves of weapons, masks, ledgers, and a map, etched with a single phrase in Hausa. "If one lion falls, unleash the scorpions." Zaki unfurled a parchment. Dozens of names, scholars, soldiers, judges, people secretly loyal to Idris and waiting. He dipped a pen in blood ink and began writing. Above ground, the palace stirred with hope. Below, Zaki prepared the next storm. He whispered to the torch, "Let them crown their lion. We shall build a kingdom of smoke beneath his paws." Drums thundered through Kano's wide stone corridors. Flags bearing the crescent and kola nut rippled in every breeze. The people gathered in tens of thousands, crowding the ancient plaza where generations of kings had risen and fallen. Musa stood on the steps of the throne hall, wearing a robe stitched with his mother's crest. His sword was sheathed. His hands were bare. Around him stood his loyal few. Amina, Yangits, the elders, the children who had once fled the fires of Dambata. A hush swept over the crowd as the palace priest raised the crown. Musa lifted his eyes. "I do not take this crown to rule," he said. "I take it to restore. Not by force, but by truth. Not in memory of my brother, but in honor of my mother." Cheers erupted. The chant returned. "Zawara's son. Zawara's son." But amid the jubilation, Amina's gaze caught a flicker. High on a tower ledge, a black-robed figure vanishing into shadow. She whispered to Musa, "Zaki lives." Musa nodded slowly. "Then we are not finished. The serpent stirs beneath the stone." Musa entered the council chamber with the gait of a man wearing new burdens. Light filtered through tall stained windows, casting colors across the ancient table where kings once plotted wars. Now there was silence. "We have grain in short supply," said Wazrin Malambello, an elder with deep lines on his face. "The Dambata fields were burned in the uprising. We must trade with Sokoto or risk famine." Musa nodded. "Then we trade, even if we must swallow pride." Amina sat across from him, still cloaked. "There's worse than hunger creeping in," she said. "Several former nobles have vanished. 3 merchants were found with scorpion brands on their chests. Musa leaned forward. Zaki is moving. Yangits entered with a scroll. Intercepted message. Signed with a symbol not seen since the Old Palace Rebellion, 3 thorns. Musa stood. Then they've awakened the Scorpion Court. Gasps echoed. Buried under Idris's reign, Amina said. But never dead. That night, beneath the palace kitchen, a maid opened a sealed jar. Inside smuggled honey. Floating within, a single dead scorpion and a rolled scroll that read, "You crowned a lion. Now face our sting." The museum guards stepped aside as Musa, Amina, and Yangits descended into the underground chambers. The air was thick with dust and time. Lamps flickered as they reached a chamber carved into salt stone. Walls bearing old Kano script, long forbidden under Idris's rule. Amina ran her hand over a cracked symbol, 3 thorns. "This is where it began," she whispered. "The Scorpion Court was born from betrayal, nobles who swore allegiance to Idris long before Bakery's death. They traded loyalty for immunity." Musa approached a sealed tomb door. It bore the names of the first king's lost brothers. Yangits found a scroll half buried beneath a fallen stone. Ink faded but legible. It detailed secret meetings, poison shipments, and the name of their supplier, Zaki. Musa clenched his jaw. He's not just Idris's shadow. He's the venom that made the snake. Suddenly, the torchlight flickered. A low creak echoed behind them. A cloaked man appeared at the chamber's mouth, face scarred, eyes wild. "You dig too deep, lion." He hurled a jar. It shattered in fire. The chamber filled with smoke. Musa grabbed Amina's arm. "Run," he shouted, as the salt walls began to collapse. The sun sank low over Kano as fires burned in 4 corners of the city, controlled blazes set by loyal guards to signal unrest. In the bustling Kofar Nazarawa district, once loyal to the crown, a shopkeeper was dragged from his stall by masked men. They left behind no coin, only a thorn-shaped scar burned into the wood. Musa and Amina, disguised in traders' robes, moved swiftly through the crowded alleys. "People are turning," Amina muttered. "They say you let Idris die dishonorably, that you poison markets through new taxes." "I gave no such order," Musa replied. "Doesn't matter," she said. "Zaki speaks louder in the dark than truth does in the light." A crowd gathered near the well. A preacher cried out, "Beware the lion who drank his brother's blood. Beware the king of curses." Yangits pulled Musa back. "He's no preacher. That's one of Zaki's venom tongues. He's inciting a riot." Before Musa could react, a stone flew. Then another. Angry voices swelled. "Go!" Amina shouted. "We fight another day." As they fled through back alleys, a child pressed a note into Musa's hand. It read, "He lives. Under the roots of Kormi Market. He plans your fall by the festival." Musa, Amina, and Yangits stood at the edge of the old Kormi Market. By day, it teemed with colors, laughter, and coin. But now, under the hush of midnight, it was a graveyard of shadow. They moved swiftly, guided by the child's note. Beneath a goat seller's stall, Amina found the loose board. Below it, a narrow tunnel carved into old earth, lit faintly by oil lanterns. The air grew colder as they descended. Stone walls bore old scorpion sigils. Skulls lined the passage like warnings. The deeper they went, the clearer the sounds, chanting, murmuring, the clink of glass. At the end of the tunnel, they found it, an underground hall built from old slave vaults. Inside, masked men knelt in a circle, listening to a single voice at the altar. Zaki. He wore no mask. His gray beard was stained with saffron, and his eyes gleamed with fanatic calm. "We do not kill kings," he said softly. "We make the world wish they were dead." Suddenly, Amina's foot scraped loose gravel. Zaki paused. "Bring me the lion," he whispered. Dozens of eyes turned as masked guards surged forward. Musa and his allies were trapped beneath Kano, in the serpent's den. The masked guards surged forward like waves crashing down narrow stone aisles. Musa unsheathed his blade, Amina drew her twin daggers, and Yangitz cracked his staff across the first attacker's knees. The torchlight danced wildly as chaos erupted. "Back! Stay close!" Musa shouted. Zaki stepped down from the altar, his voice calm amid the violence. "Do not kill him. Bring him to kneel. Let the people see their lion weep." A crossbow bolt grazed Amina's shoulder. She hissed and ducked, then drove a dagger into a masked man's thigh. Yangit swung again, felling another. But there were too many. Musa held the rear, cutting a path toward an old water channel that ran behind the altar. "Here," he yelled. "The drain pipe." They crashed through stacked crates. Amina kicked loose a grate, revealing a narrow, filth-slick tunnel barely wide enough for a man. "I'll hold them," Yangit said, blood dripping from his ear. "No," Musa said. "Together." The three dove into the darkness just as firebombs burst behind them, lighting the chamber in hellish glow. As they fled through the underground drain, Zaki's voice echoed behind them. "Run, lion. The festival nears, and your throne will drown in scorpions." Drums beat from every corner of Kano. The festival of renewal had begun, an ancient tradition where all wore masks, rich and poor alike, and the city danced in celebration of rebirth. Color flooded the streets. Children painted their faces. Merchants wore crowns of woven straw. Even the guards donned ceremonial veils, their weapons sheathed. But beneath the joy, Musa felt unease. "They've all covered their faces," Amina whispered, scanning the crowds. "We won't know who's loyal or who walks with Zaki." Musa walked with purpose toward the central square, surrounded by hand-picked guards. His robe was lighter now, stitched with silver thread. He smiled when children bowed, but his eyes never rested. "Any sign of the venom tongues?" Yangitz asked, gripping his staff beneath his disguise. "None yet," Musa replied. "But they won't strike until the square is full." In the distance, a flute solo began, the signal to start the public blessing. Musa was to pour water over the sacred stone of bakery as his final rite of kingship. He stepped onto the stage. Thousands watched. Flutes played. Drums paused. Musa reached for the ceremonial jug. A child in a golden mask shoved through the crowd, shouting one word. "Poison." The cry sliced through the crowd like a blade. "Poison." Musa froze. His hand hovered over the ceremonial jug. The crowd, draped in colorful masks, rippled with unease. Some laughed nervously. Others began to murmur. Then came the second scream, raw and terrified. The golden-masked child collapsed at the edge of the dais, blood pouring from his mouth. His body convulsed. Chaos. People surged backward. Masks dropped. Guards scrambled. Someone hurled a gourd, shattering against the platform, spewing black scorpions across the steps. Amina drew her blades. "It's begun." Venom tongues moved from the crowd, revealing brands on their wrists. They struck fast and silent. One lunged toward Musa. Yangitz caught him midair with a crushing blow. From the rooftops, arrows flew. The guards fought back, but confusion reigned. Musa swept up the poisoned jug and hurled it into the fire pit. "Secure the exits," he roared. He lifted the child's limp body. "They use our joy against us. Today, we fight not to wear the crown, but to protect the soul of Kano." Above them all, on the balcony of an old minaret, Zaki appeared. He raised a horn and blew. It was not music, it was war. The horn's wail echoed across Kano like a curse. Zaki stood tall on the minaret's cracked balcony, arms spread like a conductor. His followers answered. From alleyways, trapdoors, and painted carts, dozens of hidden assassins emerged. Not masked, not secret anymore. This was no longer a whisper, it was a declaration. Musa handed the limp child to a healer and bounded toward the base of the minaret. "He wants the city to bleed? We give him steel instead." Amina and Yangitz followed close. Arrows rained. Smoke rose from several quarters as coordinated fires took hold. "We'll lose the city if we don't end this now," Amina shouted. Musa kicked through the minaret doors. Inside, spiraling stairs choked with smoke and defenders. Blades clashed in the dark. Musa's sword met bone. Yangitz swung his staff wide, clearing a path. Amina moved like wind, cutting the last before the top. They burst onto the roof. Zaki stood calmly by a brazier, dagger in hand. "You came," he said. "As you always do, too noble." Too late. Musa raised his blade. "Your court is over." Zaki lifted a vial glowing blue. "I built a new court, in blood and silence. And with this I unbuild Kano." Zaki held the glowing vial above the brazier. Its contents shimmered with an eerie, unnatural hue. "Do you know what this is?" he said, eyes wild. "It's the distillate of black cobra venom, infused with spores from the crimson mold that grows only on the bones of buried kings. A single drop in the wind, and Kano falls asleep forever." Musa stepped forward, sword raised. "You would destroy a city just to win a war? I would erase it to rebuild it. Idris failed because he spared its heart. I will crush it." Amina circled behind Zaki. Yangitz stayed by the door, holding back more venom tongues clawing their way up the stairs. Zaki uncorked the vial. A sickly scent hit the air. "Don't!" Musa roared, lunging. Zaki tossed the vial. Amina dove. With one dagger she slashed Zaki's wrist. With the other, she struck the vial mid-air. It shattered on the stone floor, but away from the brazier. Zaki screamed, "You ruin what you don't understand." Musa turned, kicked the broken shards over the side of the tower. "We rebuild with people, not poison." Zaki charged him, dagger flashing. As they grappled at the edge, lightning struck the far wall. Musa's foot slipped. Both men teetered on the rim, one fall away from death. Rain slashed across Musa's face as he clung to the minaret's crumbling edge. Zaki dangled opposite him, one hand grasping Musa's wrist, his dagger lost to the wind below. "You can let me fall," Zaki growled, coughing blood. "Be the king they cheer for. Clean hands. Crown shining." Musa's eyes burned. "Or I pull you up and face 1,000 deaths by poison and rumor." Below, the people of Kano lit lanterns to guide survivors through the chaos. Their glow shimmered like stars across the broken city. Amina called up, "Musa, choose." Musa gritted his teeth. Lightning cracked. Then he pulled. Zaki came over the ledge, gasping, stunned. Musa slammed him to the stone and shackled his wrist with the very chain that once held rebel prisoners. "You live," Musa said, "to face every name you erased." Zaki wept, not from pain but rage. Dawn broke behind them. In the months that followed, Musa rebuilt. Not as a king, but as a servant guardian. He opened the catacombs, exposed the truth, and planted gardens where gallows once stood. But every festival of renewal, a silent crowd gathers beneath the minaret. They say that's where the lion chose not to kill. And that's why Kano still breathes.